People are sick and tired of being sold to. Don't get me wrong, stormy as hell. People are crawling through the desert of AI generated content going, please give me some human authenticity. They know that they're full of shit and they know that they're just taking advantage of people who need guidance.
I'm a generalist. I don't think I have a role in an enterprise.
Okay.
That's why I'm starting my own companies. What's the most challenging thing about running an agency in 2026?
Yeah, I mean, I think about the story, and I'm gonna butcher it, but there's three men on a ship, and the ship is in a storm, and they're looking at the conditions, and one of them just thinks, I'm gonna do better off on my own, just swimming in this, than I am gonna be on the ship, and so he jumps and he drowns. And then there's another uh, man who I can't remember the second man what he does. I'm butchering the story, sorry, but he also makes a decision and drowns. And the third man stays on the ship and he starts to notice the patterns in the waves, and he starts to notice what's around him, and he starts to notice that there's a mattress floating, in the water, and he jumps off the ship that eventually capsizes and holds onto the mattress and survives. In other words, that's a long way of saying that I am keeping my eyes on the patterns and trying to notice the surroundings, trying to have a situational awareness around what is happening. But it is, don't get me wrong, stormy as hell. And for an agency owner that is doing work, time and materials, and trying to maintain a $3 million business, it's challenging, and so we're doing a lot of different experimentation. We are exploring different angles. We are leaning into AI to the degree that we can, and we can talk about that a little bit more about where AI's role is, as far as I see it, in the creation of things like content or creative or um, things like that. Um, but we consider ourselves an AI forward agency, and we are embracing it as much as we can. But there are other forces at work too. Lots of other things that are creating volatility in the marketplace. Clients are fickle. People decide to pull everything in house, or um, uh, you know, sometimes they have to downsize. There's been a lot of turmoil within the clients, just from a staffing standpoint. So it's hard to maintain relationships when that happens, because one day your key client is there, and then the next day they're not. Um, but that's been interesting. We've actually hired some of those people that have been laid off from our clients, and that has turned out to be an incredibly smart move, if I do say so, and has really helped us a lot. And we are also developing new models. We're talking to somebody right now about coming in as a sort of strategist in residence, and we're creating this whole role around it, um, and then creating some incentives around that person bringing in new business for us, and being able to work on the business. So let's say, Sean, you are what's a role that you would have at an enterprise corporation?
For that,
No, generally, like, actually, what would be your role at an enterprise?
what would my role be?
Yeah.
I'm a generalist. I don't think I have a role in an enterprise.
Okay.
That's why I'm starting my own companies.
All right. Well, let's call you a chief product officer.
Okay.
So let's say you decide to become a fractional chief product officer. The agency would be like a home base where you could bring in projects and work on those projects, but then the agency would be able to grow that client as well. And then you would get a percentage on top of what you're making on the projects, essentially like a commission.
Okay.
So that's the role we're creating.
Interesting. So a lot of questions I definitely want to get into, but before, I think what a lot of people that are listening now care the most about is there's everybody trying to convince them to start agencies because every teenager wants to start an agency. It's the way that they can escape the matrix. From all of your years of experience running an agency, does it make sense to start an agency?
Yeah, I mean that's a pretty binary question. There's a lot of nuance to it, but I would say yes, it does, especially if you have a specialty that others don't, or that is rare in the marketplace, or that you're exceptional at. So I would say, okay, North America, there are now 50,000, maybe 60,000 agencies, small agencies in the marketplace. So you're competing with those people. You're also competing with large agencies, and you're also competing with in-house agencies. So it's there's it makes sense if you look at it like, well, we can bootstrap it easily. It's time and materials. There's really no overhead. It's completely virtual, etc. And we started out that way. Um, but it's also extremely difficult to actually land clients. And the thing to know about that is that it is in a relationship based business, and there's a high degree of trust that you have to have, or that the client needs to have in you in order for them to want to bring you in. Because look, if they bring you in and things don't go amazingly, that's their reputation. That is their internal reputation, and they could lose their jobs. You know, that's a worst case scenario, but it is definitely a scenario. So.
Every guru out there is telling 18-year-olds that they can make their first $10,000 a month in the first 30 days if they launch an agency, and it's just hilarious because I don't believe it.
No, I wouldn't believe it either. There are different kinds of digital agencies, of course. You could launch an agency that I had a buddy who did small business websites. That was his thing, like very small business website, like the website for, um, let's say your new product, and your first website, effectively. And he had to keep getting new clients because those are project based, and you don't have, like, we have a 9-year relationship right now with Experian. You don't have those kinds of relationships. They're just like in and out, in and out, in and out. And so you have to be really good at hunting and killing your food, and you have to have a pipeline, a nice healthy pipeline, and you have to get really good at SEO, AEO, and showing up in the places that those people are going to be looking for an agency to do that. So.
So let's go towards the content. You were talking about AI's role in content. We've talked about this previously.
Hmm.
A lot of the problems that I see with content creation these days is that it all sounds like AI. Like humans are losing their voice to AI,
Hmm.
but everybody knows that they need to be visible in order for people to want to do business with them. Because as you said, all of these businesses are trust based. A lot of them are relationship based. Even if you're a self-serve SaaS like I'm trying to build,
Hmm.
it's I still have to make content. I still have to let people know that I'm out there, or else nobody's going to come to me unless I run ads. But if I don't have enough customers to know that I have the budget or the right angles or the right ICP, I can't run ads. So everybody that's smart goes towards organic growth first, warm outreach, cold outreach, but that requires trust. And so if someone comes to your social media channel and they see garbage because it's all AI slop, how is that supposed to build trust, right?
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't build trust. You really need the authentic human. I mean, people are crawling through the desert of AI generated content, going, "Please give me some human authenticity, like just a taste, please." And so if you're only generating AI slop, as you say, even if you think that you're taking the slop out of it, you're probably not all the way. Their authenticity still needs to be coming through, and that takes work. I mean, I do it every day, so I know it takes a lot of work. I see like so sometimes when I use AI to generate content, I am looking at it as a block of clay. You know, it's sort of like, well, before I didn't have a block of clay, but now I have a block of clay, and maybe it's like kind of starting to be in a shape that might make sense. I don't know. And so I spent a lot of time like molding that clay, like sculpting that shape until it looks like something that I would put out into the world. And I have pretty high standards for the authenticity portion of that. And it's not just in the writing either, Sean. It's in the ideas, and in the humanity that we bring to it. It's not just about the quality of the writing. It's about the human experience, and does the human experience come through? So you can go in and you can fiddle with the AI writing until it feels a little bit more authentic, a little bit more human, a little more you. But is it actually projecting humanity, which a lot of human writing just naturally does, right? Does it project
I hope so.
experience? Yeah, yeah. I mean, it should. I mean, some people aren't that great at it, and that's just not their thing, right?
Yeah. That's why I've put so much focus into removing the AI from the content that I create. And so like if I take a transcript and I you put it into Sparkvox and I turn it into something, I may publish pretty close to what was already given to me rather than I know you were saying you wanted to edit it more before publishing.
Hmm.
Because for me, the authenticity comes from the source of truth, which is the recording, right? The call, the interview, the sales, the presentation, what have you. So I feel like if you start from something that's a lived experience,
Yeah.
if I can if I can make the AI keep that
Hmm.
while limiting its ability to alter it with its nonsense that it wants to put in, like the it's not X, it's Y, that kind of crap. If I can keep the authenticity and the voice and limit the damage to the content from the AI, then I feel like I've got something really good, which I'll admit to anyone, like it's a work in progress. But but I think that is the way forward for people because like what you're talking about is taking an idea and turning it into a post. What I'm talking about is taking content that's been made and repurposing it into a post because I think it's easier to start with something that exists than to start with nothing and then have to work from a block of clay.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I mean, I think what you have in that statement is something that maybe OpenAI or Anthropic should want to buy, is that the ability. And I'm not saying that like to flatter you. I'm saying like here is a way to actually capture the human experience as the seed without you know causing any more actual work, and to be able to use that and project that human experience just a little bit more, not a little bit more, but in a lot more polished of a way, basically converting what is a conversation to prose, which is a completely different format for writing, of course. Like if you were to publish the exact transcript, that's one thing, but it doesn't read as prose, and it's kind of laborious to get through. And so if you're able to sort of reformat it while keeping the authenticity into prose, I think you've actually really got something interesting there. I think the trick is, how do you cure AI of its just unending desire to want to say the next logical thing based on the average of everything it's ever read. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's a very long prompt with a ton of bands, a ton of banned words and phrases and things, and really I think the focus for that for me is in that voice profile that I've created, which is if you're forced to rely on the historical inputs over time, acting as your context, as part of your context window,
Hmm.
prevents you from averaging towards the mean.
Yeah, I mean that's in theory, sure. That sounds awesome. If you can, and maybe it just gets better and better as you use it. Maybe that could be like I would love to play around with it more and see what happens with the voice.
So, how do you keep your customers engaged?
Mm. So what? How do you do that through the written word, or how do I do that strategically? Or
Strategically, how do you keep your customers engaged, especially at a time when the same thing for me, people ask me, why don't I just use ChatGPT?
uh,
Obviously, that's a bad idea, but they don't realize that.
so how do I keep the Pinwheels customers engaged, or how do I keep their audiences engaged with them?
Well, more so, how do you just keep them from churning?
Clients?
Yeah.
Well, we so I worked for a while as an in-house guy at Yahoo. I was a creative lead there, and back in the heyday, and I was the creative director at the brand side of CBS Interactive, and we had like 20 online brands like CBS.com and Chow.com and a whole bunch of other ones. Um, and one of the things that helped me do is understand how companies work, like working within a company as a creative solution, like how do they work? How do we take the friction out of the experience of working with an agency while bringing potentially more to the table than an in-house shop could bring to the table. And so that is what we focus on is the quality of that experience that our clients are having. Like I said, taking the friction out because honestly, marketers are so busy. It's incredible. I see their calendars sometimes and I'm like, oh my God. It's just like a train wreck on top of a train wreck. And so they absolutely have no time or patience for anything that's adding friction for sure. And so if that happens, which it's rare, but if it happens, like I know it's a big deal, and I know that I need to respond as the agency owner, and I need to make it right in some way. Um, and so that's one of the ways that we do it. Another way that we do it is we try to get the lay of the land internally, and we try to, spread out a little bit within the organization. So an example of that would be at Stripe, we were working with the regular content team at Stripe, and he introduced us to the partner marketing team at Stripe. And so now we're working for two different teams, and then now we have access to the brand team, and we're helping them do things, and so we're sort of really integrating almost like an AOR, but I don't know if we could really say that we're AOR. That's agency of record, by the way, for Stripe, and I don't even know if AOR is really a thing anymore. Most clients have an in-house shop, and they also have like 5 or 6 agencies in the mix, and they may even have 10. I have no idea.
Why is there so many teams?
So many agencies. There's a lot of reasons for that. One of the reasons is that companies are siloed a lot of times, and so different silos, want service in a certain way, and may have connections to agencies that they've worked with in the past, and they want to bring them in, and I totally understand that. Another reason is that there are lots of different agency specialties. we say agency as like the sort of catch-all, or creative agency even as a catch-all, but ultimately there are probably, well, 30 like distinct kinds of agency, and within each of those distinct kinds there are agencies that are better at some things than others. And so you want people who are really good at the thing that you need them to do. And so we're really good at content. We're really good at building trust for the client among their audience. We're really good at um, pulling people into their funnel through search and a you know AI search and things like that. That's what we're good at.
So then how do you build trust for them with their audience?
Um, well, we're actually you asked earlier, like, how are we weathering the storm, or what's it like being having an agency at this time. One of the things that we're doing is developing an entire trust engine. Is a concept whereby we go in, and instead of treating it as like we're going to create a bunch of case studies, or we're going to mine your results for data points that we can pull into your marketing, or things like that, is we're going to actually create an entire ecosystem of proof that your product works or that your services work, and we're going to atomize all of that, and we're going to put it in all different areas of your marketing. We're basically going to um, broadcast it everywhere, and that is one of the ways that we generate trust. Another way that we generate trust is through storytelling, because storytelling naturally creates a bond or a connection between the rator and the listener. So that's just something in the human psychology.
How do you build and maintain that trust with the audience in a way that's not clearly obnoxiously salesy?
Mm, that's a good question and a good instinct. You you infuse it into other things that you're doing in a way that is not like, it's not necessarily the whole point. And it is put forward as like, here we're making an assertion, naturally we're going to follow that up with, and here's the proof. Not like we here's our entire billboard. Sorry, our entire billboard is is just a data point of like, we're awesome. Like we did 150,000 of that, and therefore we are the best in the marketplace. Like, that sounds really salesy. It sounds really boasty. Like, you need to do it in a way that endears you to the audience, not in a way that repels them. Because ultimately, and I think this is where your instinct is coming from, Sean, is that people are sick and tired of being sold to, which they're very fatigued by it. One thing that does still work, though, is this developing proof and trust through that proof. That still works because people want to know that the thing that they're going to buy works or doesn't work. They don't want to hear your, you know, 30-minute or 30-second, like, funny little pitch anymore. They're done. They're done with that.
So obviously you're helping companies that are large enough that they have this proof. But what if you're early in your journey and you're trying to establish credibility and trust, but you don't have anything to show for? How do you do that? How do you take what you do for these large companies and apply it to yourself?
Yeah, it's really, I think it would depend on the thing it is that you're selling and who you're selling it to. Like, there's ways to build trust that aren't necessarily about showing the results of what you do, because ultimately, if you're 1 month in on building a product, you don't have any results. Like there's nothing to say, honestly. But you do have tools at your disposal. Things like honesty, straightforwardness, um, having all your cards on the table, like being uh, overtly trustworthy in how you're projecting yourself out into the marketplace. Those things do work. And also, they do make you stand out from your competition because companies don't naturally do that, especially large companies. The one thing that you have as an advantage as a small company is that you don't have the bureaucracy that's making everybody, and similar to AI, sort of gravitate towards the mean. You have the ability to be different. And so use that and do it in a way that builds trust among your audience, and you will grow, assuming you have like a good product.
Have you heard of the term building in public?
I haven't, but I like it.
Really? I figured you would have. So, building in public is a phrase. I don't know who coined it, but it's something that like every SaaS owner has been taught essentially. It's like if you're building your product in public, if you're telling people, I don't have any revenue yet, or oh, we just added this new feature, but it took 3 weeks to put together. If
Hmm.
you're telling people the struggles of what you're doing, then you'll build an audience that when you're ready to launch is like, assuming you've done it right and you've attracted the right people, your customers are ready to go because you've been getting them wet, essentially.
Totally. Like I love the term. I hadn't heard the term, but I have obviously witnessed the expression of that, and I think it's a great way to develop trust. It's a great way to bring people into your orbit and to like essentially it's storytelling. Like here's my struggle. I'm trying to create this thing. Here's this roadblock that I ran into, and it really did make me stumble for a second, but I figured it out. Like people are like suddenly tuning into that, and they're like, "Oh, this is exciting! Like I get to follow this guy and his journey of developing this product. I wonder what happens next." you know, they're involved.
I came across a video in my feed on YouTube earlier today where a guy's like, watch me on my journey to go from 0 to 10,000 a month in revenue for my software company. And it's like the thumbnail is like day 36, zero revenue.
yeah. I think I saw something similar to that in my Substack feed yesterday.
Because like I said earlier, all these gurus are saying, oh, I'm working 1 hour a week and my business makes $1 million a month, right? I have
Mhm.
$1 trillion in sales because of the AI agent team that I put together. Comment X and I'll give you access to it,
Yeah.
right? It's like there's a million of these kinds of businesses, and these people are making money selling to people who want to make money,
Hmm.
and it's sad because I could make millions of dollars if I wanted to do that. I mean, I've made money in the past, but like I could do something like that if I wanted to. And I'm like, no, I'd rather just actually build something that's useful. That when the hype is gone, this thing is still valuable to people.
I think ultimately those guys, deep down in their heart of hearts, they know that they're full of shit, and they know that they're just taking advantage of people who need guidance, and it's sad. I think that's what makes it sad. Um, I think it's much better to be true to yourself and say, okay, well, based on that, how am I going to make money? You know. Um, but yeah, I've seen those people out there. But the point about going and building in public, I mean, I think is great. I mean, I remember being at Yahoo and we would launch a new product and it's like it's in beta. You know, that was kind of my first exposure to that kind of thing. It's like, oh, interesting. Like you don't see that in the grocery store. Nothing's in beta in the grocery store.
But there's nothing really in beta anymore because you could literally take an idea and it's ready to launch in a few days.
Yeah, you could. I mean, it might be worth signaling that it's not necessarily fully baked, or it's not necessarily, the full expression of what this needs to be. But, people will still buy it. if it helps them do something that they need to do. Something like SparkFox, for example, it saves people a ton of time and can generate like a ton of social media content really fast in your voice.
Exactly. You want to be my chief sales officer?
Sure.
What's the most important thing you've learned in your career so far?
That the answer to that, Sean, is going to change like on a daily basis. But I think to my today's answer is that it's okay not to have all the answers. Like, just do stuff and just let it be okay and feel like it's okay to bring other people in and get their expertise or their opinion or their it doesn't mean that you don't know what you're doing, even if you don't know what you're doing, or maybe you don't know what you're doing. Like, it's okay to not know what you're doing, honestly. Like, you're doing something and it's pretty cool. So maybe take some advice from other people. That's one of the things that's fundamental to how I built the agency, is that everybody that works at Pinwheel is on the same level and we're all doing it together. Now, if somebody disagrees with me and I disagree with them, I might, you know, I might overrule them. But ultimately, um, as an old founder that I worked for once used to say, it's a benevolent dictatorship. No, it's kind of a democracy, but with a little bit of hierarchy, a little bit, teeny bit. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Good to talk to you.
Thanks for watching. If you liked this insight, I've handpicked another video for you right here on the screen. For more actionable strategies that get you real results, hit subscribe.